the last main topic of the day. We're going to talk about another huge panel that was massively anticipated by so many people around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the Batman. Oh boy, you guys. Oh, the Batman. Matt Reeves is the Batman. On Friday's show, we talked about the logo that was revealed. Was it Friday or Thursday? I think it was Friday. Matt Reeves and Jim Lee just dropped the new logo for the Batman just before DC Fandom, kind of in anticipation and preparation for DC Fandom, just to get fans excited and give them a little taste, a little snippet, a little something, a little morsel to suck on as an introduction to DC Fandom. And we talked on the show about how dirty and kind of gritty and kind of subculture that this logo looks. It almost looks homemade. Which I think goes to the point of what Matt Reeves was talking about in the panel, that in the film, Robert Pattinson's version of Batman, Bruce Wayne makes his own costume. Everything is homemade. All the pieces are put together himself. It's year 2 of him being Batman. He's still kind of figuring out what this thing is, how it works, and all the things that go into being Batman. Like, we know ultimately what Batman becomes and who he is as a human being and as a character, but this incarnation of Batman is him still learning. He's not on the origin storyline. A little time has passed, so we kind of get to see that homemade version. There was another aspect to this trailer that dropped. When I saw the trailer, I started thinking to myself, this kind of looks like a horror film. This looks like a psychological thriller, 90s dark horror film. Much in the vein of Fallen, much in the vein of The Crow, much in the vein of Seven. I like how he said Seven, but I held up 3 fingers. Rob, do you have any thoughts on this being a horror thriller, or do you have a different take on the trailer?
Well, Matt Reeves himself had said that he's definitely looking at this less as a superhero movie and definitely more as a noir detective-like movie, which I think is great because it's going to be focusing on an aspect of Batman that everyone should know he's amazingly good at. He's not just a skilled martial artist. He's actually a very intelligent and skilled detective. So I think something like that and it being shown in the movie is really, really great. And the Seven vibe that you said, you absolutely nailed it on the head. I feel like if you took Seven as a movie and Daredevil, and you kind of melded them together, I feel like that's the Batman that we're getting. Some folks kind of critiqued the look of the suit. I thought it looked great because, again, it is homemade by Bruce. So I think that looked awesome. I think the car is gorgeous. It's a souped up muscle car, and I think that all lends to the potential reality that this movie is trying to ground for us. It's not something in a fantasy place. This is something that actually could happen. I feel like Nolan's trilogy was leaning towards it. I feel like Matt Reeves now is really flexing on that. And what better villain to exercise a detective story than the Riddler? That is just genius. Absolute genius. I've been for Matt Reeves since it was announced that he was going to do it. And after seeing the trailer, I was like, I was right.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. There are aspects to Robert Pattinson's character that I'm still having kind of a hard time wrapping my brain around. Like, before watching this footage, I was all for it. I was like, yep, Robert Pattinson's a great actor. If you've seen anything that he has been in besides the Twilight movies, he's fantastic. He's really great. Absolutely. He brings great energy.
Great actor.
So I was on board with it, but seeing him in this trailer, I'm not there yet. The film is hopefully gonna wow me and win me over. It was weird. It's weird that I'm all for this movie. It looked great. Paul Dano as the Riddler. Like, you cannot get better
amazing casting.
It's
amazing casting.
It's almost like we have now what we had in hindsight with Heath Ledger. Like, before Heath Ledger, everyone was like, meh, the Brokeback Mountain guy, meh. But then afterwards, everyone's like, that was the greatest casting of all time. And that's how I feel now. Paul Dano is such an incredible actor, such an underrated.
He's going to crush so hard. He's going to crush this role.
The opening scene where he's duct taping the dude's head, like, obviously it's already a dead body, but he's wrapping the head in duct tape. And then, like, later on in the trailer, you see him kind of like hiding in the shadows. He has a mask. I guess he's social distancing because he's wearing, kind of a mask over his nose and mouth, but his eyes are just peeping over this mask, and he's watching the carnage that he created, and it's so creepy. And it's those reasons that I'm comparing it to Seven. I'm comparing it to Fallen. It's just really dark, and like it has this icky feeling that it leaves you on the inside, and that's why I'm thinking that this movie is going to be more of I don't want to say a horror film, but like a psychological horror.
Definitely thriller. Definitely a thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And it just left me with like these excited feelings, except for Robert Pattinson's acting. There's that right in the middle of the trailer where he's beating the dude up. I don't know. I don't entirely buy it. I don't.
Interesting. I actually really enjoyed that part. Like the Bruce Wayne, I'm still not 100% like on board with, just because we didn't really see him be Bruce. So that I'll give him. We didn't see enough of that. We saw him as just like, quiet, brooding Bruce, which, that doesn't really lend too much, to our imagination.
Hang on a sec.
But
you mean to say that Bruce Wayne can be dark and brooding? That's a trait.
Well, no. But yeah, so I mean, he did that fine, I guess. Anybody can, stand around with their head down. Sure. I could stand around with my head down. Who can't do that? So whatever. But that portion when he attacked that guy, the reason I liked it was because, as a former martial artist back in the day, which was a Wednesday, by the way.
I remember that. It was a good day.
Back in the day, so from a martial artist perspective, the way he attacked this guy, it was very brawler-esque. It was very just kind of like, I'm just going to beat you down. And I actually like that, because I feel like that does lend to the fact that he is still new. So I thought that was actually really cool to see, because even Christian Bale, though his fighting was a bit more brutal, it was very not that it was choreographed, but it was very specific. He blocked, he countered, he did things. So like that made sense. While this one, he was like, I'm just gonna grab you and beat you to hell. Kind of like Batfleck. Batfleck did kind of show that off a little bit as well, because he did have that same kind of brawler-esque kind of thing, which makes sense because they were looking for more of a Dark Knight Returns Batman, a much older Batman. So Batman and Bruce Wayne at the beginning of his career to the end of his career, and at the end of his career kind of mirror each other on how he was. He wasn't that like very well calculated, amazing, accomplished fighter that he was in the middle of his career that we're all so familiar with. So I actually really enjoyed that part.
I mean, I think that just goes to, as we were talking on the show on Friday, the subjectivity of film. Like, just because, one person's super excited about it doesn't mean that we all have to be super excited. Totally. Or, you can definitely pick and choose. Like Suicide Squad, as I go back to the original example, there are plenty of fans of that film. I think that it has some redeeming parts, but for the most part, meh. And you can go through and pick and choose, and it's all good. It's all gravy.
Yeah, I mean, because ultimately we're both going to watch the movie.
Oh well, yeah.
And that's all that really matters. You know what I'm saying? And we're both going to walk away with such different perspectives
Oh yeah.
of the movie. We're going to lift different things that stood out to us and what we appreciated so much. So I think that's really cool. That was really
Yeah,
cool.
so I'm really looking forward to seeing the Batman whenever that makes its debut. Are there any surprises that jumped out to you guys? Was there anything that you didn't expect? Maybe things that you expected to see and you didn't see? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Cool.